Hey everyone, welcome back. And in this episode, we're just gonna go power through all of the shop context and everything and try to separate those out into their own interfaces and repositories. So effectively removing the database from our application layer. So let's go ahead and get cracking. Let's start with order, since the cart we have fixed it up in the previous episode. So stuff to do with orders. Let's go ahead and straight away into the domain layer, into infrastructure, and let's go ahead and create an OrderManager.cs, and this is what's going to handle all our order stuff. Okay, so in create order, this is effectively what we want to do. We want to keep this and create the order. So let's go ahead and remove all of the imports first, and we can create a task because we're going to be saving. Let's import using system threading tasks, and let's say create order, or rather save order, create order. And now I'm gonna go ahead and pass an order object and call it order. There we go. And let's see what is this operation we're doing here. So we're effectively removing the stock that we're holding. So this will have to go in our iSession manager. And where do we have something that essentially releases stock? We don't necessarily have that. So let's go ahead and say, what is this doing? We want to release stock on hold. So into our not session manager, sorry, stock manager. Remove stock from hold. I'd say I want to go ahead and create one, but for session ID. Okay, so let's save that. And this should be alright. So we're going to be importing an OrderManager and iStock Manager into this controller. And because I want to ensure that the order gets created first before we try to release stock, because if we release stock and then the order doesn't save and we already have a release stock, then we messed up. So let's go ahead and return a boolean here to make sure that this actually does release stock. So then I'm going to go into my database, and let's go ahead and create an OrderManager.cs. And this order manager is going to implement from OrderManager. Okay, let's implement the interface. Nice. And all we're going to do is we're going to go into create order. We're going to grab this bit here. We're going to paste it here. Now, I don't think we need to return a wait here, or do we? Let's first of all create the constructor and inject our application DB context. Make a global field. Make it read-only. Okay, so let's see if we can do this. This will return an integer. So for the sakes of not creating a state machine there, I'm just going to return an integer as well. And we can just return this save change task async. And in create order here, we can go ahead and actually, let's just remove this application DB context. And let's grab our order manager. I have misspelled it. Order manager, let's make a global field. And let's get our iStock manager as well. And application.cart. Shop.application.cart. Okay, so this is in the wrong namespace. The iStock manager should be in shop domain dot infrastructure. We'll fix all the errors that come with it. With that, I will quickly check that everything else has the correct namespace as well. So it appears to have it. So session manager and stock manager, let's close that. Order manager, seems to be in order. And okay, let's go ahead and proceed creating the stock manager. So stock manager, create a global field. Okay, so first of all, let's go ahead and grab the stock manager, or rather order manager, and create the order. Var result equals await, or rather, let's say success. And if successful, we want to go ahead and do this bit here. So let's go ahead, cut this. We'll put it here for now. And let's take the stock manager and remove stock from hold. And we can go ahead and grab the session ID. And let's await. Now this is a task as well. So what I'm thinking of doing, because we are returning a boolean here, I mean we can return true here, or I think I would rather do something along the lines of returning this, and here we can just return false. So basically, if it succeeds, we want to proceed and check if this succeeds. If it doesn't, then something has gone wrong. But to be honest, this shouldn't really ever fail. So let's not return here. What I will do is I'll just return true and let it throw an exception if this does fail. So remove from stock. I think this is something we'll have to implement. So I'm going to go into stock manager and let's implement this interface. Let's see where it's at. Oh, implement interface. There it is. So remove stock from hold. Since it has less parameters, I'm going to put it above this one. And let's go into create order. Grab this functionality and just plop it here. And we will need to be returning a task. So let's go ahead and say ctx save changes async. And this request, let's change it to fit on screen, and have this basically request the session ID, change it to session ID. So we can grab it here. Okay. That looks good to me. Let's see what we have down here. Create order reference. Alright, so when we're creating the reference, we want to basically check if the order reference already exists. So we want to create a unique one. Okay, so let's go into OrderManager and let's check if the order reference already exists. So it will be a boolean, order reference exists. It's going to be a string, reference. Okay, order manager. Let's create the function. Let's put it in order, same way as it is in our interface. Let's grab this query here. And in order manager, where we have it here, let's return this. And we'll need to import any from our link. Okay, and new string result. Okay, so we'll actually pass this here. We'll use the reference for the new string result. And what we will need to do when we're calling this, we will need to grab the order management, order reference exists, and let's go ahead and this new string reference, plop it here, and that should be alright. Alright, let's remove this space. This covers this bit. Let's remove this space here. Okay, looking good to me. Let's close this. Let's go to get order. And here we are really wanting to get order. So here with this selector, I'm going to do something similar as what we did with the get card with this selector. So let's go ahead and take care of that. I want to just grab this initial query, or let's sort this out first. Okay, so let's create an order, and let's say get order, and let's see what we're passing. So, oh, where is it? In our get order. Let's close the stock manager, put the get order here. So we'll need a reference. So let's go ahead into our OrderManager and pass in a reference. And let's say by reference. Let's go ahead and implement this. Put it in the same space. I'm going to go ahead, copy all of this first, and I'm going to then extract stuff. So let's paste this here. So reference. Okay, so I misspelled it there. Okay, so that's all right. Return. Let's include. Let's indent this a little bit, just so it's a little bit more clear for the tree structure where we're getting our elements from. This looks a little bit okay, so this is alright because you know, it doesn't know what this new product is, because we want this selector to be existing outside of this. So when we get our order by reference, we want to specify this function. So we want a function which will do the conversion. Okay, so we're always going to be passing in an order into this function, and the t result will really depend on what's calling this function. So let's go ahead and make it specify what t result it wants. I'll drop these two new lines for visibility, and I'll call this selector. And this should be okay. And what I will do is because we're rather going to be returning a t result rather than the order. Yep, so we want to return t result, and in OrderManager, let's change this to t result and t result, and add the function parameter here as well. So OrderManager, grab the selector with the comma, go to the interface and paste it here. I don't want this on new line in my interface. I don't mind it bleeding too much. I'll scroll over in case you guys are missing anything, so you guys can see it. And now let's go ahead, cut this, and replace this with the selector. Okay, and this should grab us an order with whatever selector we're passing it. Okay, so now what we can do is, instead of the context, let's grab the order manager, call it order manager, create a global field. Let's make it read only. And now let's go ahead and call it. So order manager, get order by reference. So the reference that we want to pass is this one. So let's go ahead and rename this first. So Control R, and let's type in reference properly. Let's pass it here. And the next thing we'll need to is to pass a function. So let's go ahead and grab this function, pop it here. Let's remove all of this and put a semicolon here. Okay, and this should compile. If you're not happy with this function being here like this, what you can do is you can create a private static func and pass an order here, but you will need to import a reference to order, and then you want to return a response, and we can call this projection, because generally this is what they're called, projections. Okay, and then we can make this equal to a lambda, which will accept an order. and cut this here, paste this at the bottom here, and hopefully order. Okay, we need to remove this part here, and let's select all of this part. I'm going to go ahead, press Ctrl H, select X, and replace it with order, the parameter that I'm passing here. Press Alt A to replace all, press exit. Okay, let's format this a little bit. So I'm pressing Shift Alt and down to select the column, press tab once, and that should be alright. And let's not forget the semicolon at the end. And now what we can do is go ahead and just pass the projection here. Alright, so that you will end up with just a nice little succinct statement, and when they're like, right, what are you actually projecting it to, you can be taken to this function here, and this is where you understand that it's a projection, etc. And it's private, so it is only available to this get order, so it only belongs here. So let's make sure we don't have errors in our order manager. Good. This takes care of the order manager part. Let's go ahead and tank through the other parts. All right. So the next part is get order. Again, we have a similar situation. I'm pretty sure these includes are the same as we have here, and we do. So we want to essentially do the same, but with the, we want to grab it by the ID. So I'm just gonna go ahead, copy this, and say by ID, and I will say int, and instead of reference, ID. Okay, and by the way, this selector, really what it helps you to do is you don't need to change the internals of this. This sort of allows you to project it to whatever you want. You can return whatever object you want, but then you have some repetition. So I think it's easier to just pass the projection in here. All right. So yeah, let's go ahead into OrderManager. Implement this interface. Let's put it next here above this, because I think getting it by ID takes a little bit more priority over getting it by reference. So we can go ahead, copy the whole thing, and say ID, and pass in the ID here. Now, just as an extra step too, you can see that we have quite a bit of repetition here. What we can do is let's create a private T result, and what we want to do is actually basically make these methods specify the where clause that we're going to be passing, okay, and pass the selector as well, okay. So we'll say get order, and what we will do is let's check out the where function, and let's see what it needs. It needs an expression of funct, source, and boolean. So it's going to be looking pretty much the same as this, okay, but it's going to be returning a boolean. So let's go ahead and say boolean, and say condition, and then we are going to pass the selector here like that, and we're going to specify the T result, and now we can try to return, actually let's cut it here, return this, and what we'll do is we'll pass the condition straight to the where clause. So for this to work, we would actually need to go ahead, take the X, and pass it into this function, because this is an expression and this is a function, okay. So, and this accepts a parameter of expression of type function, okay. So we're passing in an expression of type that accepts an order with a function that accepts an order and returns a boolean. All right, and then we pass in our selector. So now what we can do is we can just go ahead and say return get order, and we can basically say what our condition is, which is going to be this. So X will still be an order. So let's say order for clarity, and the selector is still the selector. Okay, and now we can remove this. And actually, I think it's still pretty recognizable what this does. And now we can copy this, do the same thing here, but the condition here is going to be slightly different. Okay, and this essentially cleans up the both methods quite a bit, I'd say, since we only have this one query. The problem will come when the get orders might need more information or we'll need to access others. At that point, we will need to separate them, but for now, I think this works. Since the application is more or less complete, but in the future, if you need to change that, just be warned that that's what you will need to change. Okay, so get order, stepping back here. Let's grab our OrderManager. Just to spice things up, I'm changing the global field first before I change it in the constructor. You know me. I don't like doing the same thing many times. And then I delete it anyway because I like efficiency. All right. So let's grab the OrderManager. Let's do get order by ID. Let's pass in the ID and let's specify our selector. I'm not gonna create a projection function. You can do that if you want. You can skip back and see again how it's done, or look at the previous example as well. So we got rid of the context here. Let's close that. Get order. Why did I not close this? Let's close that. Get orders. Okay, so here we have a projection as well. So let's go ahead and say we want an enumerable of t result, like that. Get orders, and again I'm just gonna go ahead and pass in this function for the selector. Okay, and let's specify t result here. And what do I need? Status. Okay, get orders by status. And then we can specify the status here. Let's make sure we import it. Oh, looks like I have generated it instead. Let's remove this. And it's order status instead. So let's say order status and import the using statement here. Okay, so again, this is I'm just going to be passing the selector and getting a order status. Nothing new here. Let's go into OrderManager. Let's implement the missing interface. Put it in the same position-ish. Get order. Right here. So get orders. Let's copy this. Return the same function. I'm gonna replace this with the selector. And this I'm just gonna replace with status. Okay, so now what I want to do is, again, grab my OrderManager. Create a global field, delete the context, make it read-only. Whoa. Damn! The wrong keybind. Get order, or is it OrderManager? And now we want to get orders by status. And the status is going to be order status, which I will need to using shop.domain.enums status. And then I'm going to pass the selector. Again, I'm not going to bother creating the projection function since I already showed how to do that. I will drop this to a new line though for visibility. Okay, so that does that. Let's go on to update orders. I'm going to clear the imports first, delete this namespace. Okay, so we're updating an order. And really, this is such a simple example. It doesn't really. What can I say? There isn't really much to advancing this order. Usually, this will be a bit of a rant, but usually, if you have a big shop management system, if you go to a big corporation to work on, and they have their own sales systems, order updates are going to have gazillions of steps through the production line, and these are going to do way more. So right here, it might not seem very necessary, and it's not, but we're going to go ahead and move this into a repository anyway. But in a real big system, you will need to know how to balance your functionality between a database and your functions. Just make sure that you don't put functionality inside stored procedures, okay? That's a bad thing to do. That's why you have programming languages. Don't make stored procedures with a lot of functionality. Okay, enough front. So let's go ahead and say task advance order. So this is all I'm really going to do. I don't even want to know its what's it called, the status that I'm going to be advancing it to. I just want to know its identifier. Let's go ahead and import this advance order. I am gonna move it to the bottom here, and yeah. So let's go ahead, copy this, paste this here, and let's just actually scrap this part. I'm just gonna increment it here. Sorry, I'm just gonna increment the order. Let me grab the status property, increment it, and return the task here. Remove the boolean logic, and there we go. Okay, so I just want to pass in the order ID. So let's grab the OrderManager, nothing new here. And let's go ahead and just OrderManager. We don't actually need this to be async either. We can just return OrderManager, and we want to know if it's a boolean. So let's go ahead and or do we want to know if it's a boolean or not? We can just scrap this boolean as well altogether. We'll fix whatever issues this causes. So we want to advance order, and let's put the ID here. Okay. Alright. So that finishes up with the orders. I don't think we'll need to do more order management, so I'm going to go ahead and close that in hopes I don't have to open it again. Next up is products. So before we touch that, let's go ahead and create a iProductManager.cs, and let's create its implementation here. So product manager.cs. Let's inherit iProduct Manager. There we go. Clean it up. Alright, and let's clean this up as well. Let's go into the first one. Let's get product. And it looks like we're trying to do a few things here. And one of them is to try to return stock which is expired. So this is something we want to put in our stock manager. Okay, so iStock manager. Let's make a task, and let's think again what this is doing. Get product. We're getting stock on hold, and any stock on hold that is expired, we want to remove it. So retrieve expired stock on hold. Okay, we don't need to pass anything. This should really contain all the information it needs. Let's go into stock manager, implement this interface. Let's go to the bottom here. Yeah, I will actually move this to the bottom. Stock manager. Okay, let's go to get product. I will grab all of this stuff. I'm just gonna paste it here. I'm gonna return this task here. Okay. And let's see, what is this? Not all code path return. Alright, and I guess if there isn't any, we can just return task dot complete task. Are there any opportunities for optimization? Don't think so. It looks pretty okay, unless it might strike me later. Let's grab our stock manager. Generally, you want to import them straight away, so you don't forget that that piece of functionality was actually there. Let's await iStockManager dot remove or retrieve expired stock on hold. Okay, so we just want to call this every time. And the next thing, we want to grab the product, so I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and t result get product, and I'm gonna do a projection. So int ID, or what are we getting it by? We are getting it by name. So let's get product by name, and I want to specify a string instead and name. And now again, I will have a function t result. We don't have it. Let's copy it and put it here. So the function is going to accept a product and return t result. And again, this is going to be just a selector. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go into product manager, implement this. I'm gonna drop these to a new line. I'm gonna create a constructor, bring in my application DB context, context, make a global field. Let's see what we get. We get product. So let's grab all of this. It's a little bit easier to work on stuff once you can see it all the way it was. So this is something that we're going to be replacing with the selector. Include, we will need this bit here. And there we go. Okay, nice. Where link, we will need a link for this. And yeah, all good. So let's replace this with our product manager. So product manager, make a global field as always, grab it here, and let's return product manager, get product by name. We're going to pass the name. And again, I am not going to be creating a projection function. I recommend you do, but I just don't want this episode to take longer than it should, since it's already going to be a pretty long one. And this function here, let's go ahead and replace it with x value and get value string. And since we already know what it's going to be doing, we can place it here like this. Okay, nice. And next thing we have is get products here. So again, same thing. Let's go here. I'm just gonna go ahead, copy the whole thing, and IEnumerable. Select, put it here, import this guy. Okay, and get products instead of get product by name. I'm gonna drop it down since it seems like you should have like individual and then lists at the bottom. I don't know. Makes more sense that you have more at the bottom and less at the top. More specific things at the top. Okay, so let's go into product manager, implement this interface, and again, I'm just gonna copy the whole thing. I'm gonna return it here. Replace this with the selector, and I need to remove the X, and that should do. Let me drop these two new lines for visibility. Okay, so now let's get our product manager. Whoa, I opened the command line here. Let me exit it. Create a variable, global field, Okay. Next thing, I want to preserve the function, and all I need to do is really pass the selectors of what I'm getting. So let's go ahead and pass this here. Get products name. Okay, so I have a name parameter which I'm not really using, so let's get rid of that. And here, let's delete this, and maybe no, still too big to fit in. I'm gonna keep it here. Let's see if this still errors. Why is it still asking me for a name? Because I removed the name from the wrong function. Silly me. Okay. Alright, and again here, we're going to x value get value string. And this line, we're going to delete it. Alright, and that takes care of that. Let's close that. Product admin. We're gonna be creating, deleting, get products, update products. Is there anything here that we're gonna be getting that we're not gonna be getting from the other place? Let's quickly check with the product manager. We're gonna be getting stock, which we're not gonna be using, so entity framework is gonna take care of that. So I guess that's nice. Okay, never mind. Yeah, let's go ahead and tackle them one by one as we did before. So we create a product, we save it, we return a response. So let's go ahead and just make that. Okay, so task, and yeah, let's go ahead and do this, create product. So generally, I'd say that I would like to know if it's been created or not, so I'm just gonna return an int, same as what save async returns. And next we're just gonna pass in a product. Let's go ahead and implement this here. It's implemented at the top. Very nice. Thank you, Visual Studio. Let's grab this part here. And for some reason, I had a stroke of creativity here. Yeah, and I have named it context instead of CTX. So let's do this. Okay. Let's grab our product manager. Global field. I don't know, it's probably, if you guys are bored, because this task can be pretty boring, you're repeating a lot of steps, you can turn some music on. I'll tell you if something interesting pops up, and you can turn your music off. And let's create product. Pass the product here. Await on it. And we can do something like if throw exception. And this is going to be new exception. Failed to create product. But generally, the advice is you want to create custom exceptions, all right? But this is just I'm just having a giggle, just to make something, just to do something different. Okay. Next thing, we want to delete a product. So generally, same thing we're going to be doing here. Task bool. I guess let's do int task so we can return whatever we're doing here. I'm gonna copy all of this. Actually, let's say delete product. And what are we passing? Let's call create product. I am passing an ID. So int ID. Create this interface here. Let's grab all of this stuff. Copy, or cut rather. I'm gonna paste it here. Local variables should really be lowercase. And let's return the task. Okay. Any optimizations? No, don't think so. And let's go ahead and just grab our manager, product manager, make a global, product manager, delete product ID. And there we go. Okay, get product. So I think we can just reuse. I know we have a navigational property to stock, which we're not going to be using here, but I think entity framework holds your hand and helps you out in that regard, and we won't really need to be doing anything special to account for that. I think entity framework core entity framework core 3 might have something different for that. So let's go ahead, get product by name, but we're getting by ID. So we do want to get by ID. Okay, and this might look a little bit different. So get product by name, let's get product by ID, and ID. Function, I'm going to keep the same. Let's go ahead and add a function. And let's just paste this here. We're not going to be grabbing stock. We're going to be passing an ID and the selector. Okay, and that looks pretty much the same. So now I want to grab it by ID, pass the ID, and pop the selector in there, like that. Close that off and close this. Alright, yeah, looking good. Get products. We're doing the same thing here. Let me check if we need, if we're getting stock here. So we do include stock. I don't think, yeah, this shouldn't affect us here. Get product, did I remove everything? Yes. So let's go ahead and grab a product manager. Get really good at typing product manager by the end of this episode. And generally refactoring. I'm getting like faster every single time. So get products, and let's go ahead and just pop this here. Okay, that should be it for that. Update product. Let's see what we're doing here. Okay, so we're updating the name, the description, and the value. I think it's safe to say in this situation we might, yeah, because we need the product here. If we want to return it here later on, we want to keep the object, but then we're relying on the reference to this object to update it. So I'd say the way we would want to do this is, again, task int update product, and let's just pass the whole product. Okay, and now in here, where was this guy? Update product. Let's put him with the other CRUD operations. Okay, and let's grab just the await async from there. Let's return this without the await, and replace this with context, and now I will actually say context.product.update, and we're gonna put the product here, and then C framework will sort out everything else. Yep, this could stay the same. We are grabbing a product by ID and we're just working off the product. If we use a selector on this, we will break the reference, but we're rebinding the reference, but it's not going to know which object it is. So what we want to do is just grab a plain old product from here. So could we use a selector? I don't think it matters really. We'll test this later on. But let's go ahead and get our product manager. Okay, product manager. Let's grab the product manager. Let's get product by ID. We'll pass the ID and we'll just get X. And the request will have to come from the ID will have to come from the request. Okay, and the selector, all I'm doing here is I'm basically I'm telling it return the same object. Okay, so that's what that is. And now we can await product manager update product and say product. Okay. And now I think that takes care of all of these product admin operations. Cool. Let's go ahead into stock admin. And here we're gonna have to, this is the last folder, and we're gonna have to work in our iStock manager. So these are pretty much CRUD operations. So we have get stock with product. I think it would be appropriate to name these get product with something or something like that, but I think I'll skip on that. Let's go ahead and create a few task ints, and these are going to be same as create stock. We're going to be passing the stock, and though the reason I'm doing this by not going through this one by one is I've already done this once for the product manager. I pretty much know what this is going to entail. All right, so if we want the update stock, we're passing in the same stock again, and if we want to delete stock, so one thing is here is consistency. I can't remember if I named it remove stock or delete stock in the iProduct manager. So I called it delete here, so I gotta make sure that this is called delete as well for consistency purposes. Okay, so if you called it remove there, you gotta make sure this is called remove stock as well. And here I'm gonna go ahead and just pass an ID, int ID, and get stock. I think that should be all right for now. Let's go to create stock first, and I'm gonna just go ahead and put my iStock manager here straight away. Remove this since I'm being impatient. Yeah, we create the stock, we add the stock. So create stock, pass the stock here. Want to await on this. Let's cut this. Let's go into stock manager, implement the interfaces. This is going to give us 3 new ones. Create stock. This is where I would want this, and this is what I want to return. It has put one interface all the way down there. I think it's in alphabetical order, which I will say no thank you. I want it in the same order as I have it in my interface. So create, delete, update. Create, delete, and update. Okay, nice. So create stock. Yeah, that takes care of that. The rest of it is cool. I'm gonna remove those import statements. Close it. Delete stock. Same. iStock manager. Stock manager. I'll tell you what though, after this video, I will never misspell manager ever again in my life. Stock manager. Okay, so what are we doing? We're pretty much doing the same thing that we are doing in the delete product. Let's remove the say sync bit. We will rename this to int. I will grab all of this. I will put it in my stock manager. Delete stock here. Let's remove the await and just return the task. And that should take care of that. Yep, all good. And let's just return stock manager, delete stock, ID. There we go. Nice. So let's do get stock, update stock. I'll do later. Alright, get stock, we have the selector, and I would like the stock as well. Do we, or is it get stock? Get stocks. We're really getting stocks, aren't we? This is called a product view model. So what we're doing here, we're getting it from products, but really this is for displaying the stock, just so we know which product this stock belongs to. So let's go ahead and check our product manager real quick, where we get products, because we're getting from products, and we're doing it with include stock here. We're getting it by name, and because we're getting the product, this is really where I want to put it. So where do I have get products with include stock? Okay, so I can reuse this interface, and I'm gonna rename it with stock. Let me double check that my iProduct Manager has renamed as well. So get products with stock. That's alright. And now what I will actually do is in here I will import iProduct Manager, product manager. And by the way, I didn't repeat this, but I probably mentioned it a couple of times. To rename stuff and for it to be renamed everywhere that the reference is used, you just press Control R twice, okay? And this is gonna do it safely for you. Okay, and here all I want to do is pretty much just go ahead, return product manager, get products with stock, and I'm just gonna go ahead and pass my, oh, forgot the X, selector function here, and boom. Okay, let me put this to a new line. Yep, like that. Nice. Right, next, update stock. Wait, get stock. Did I remove everything? Yep, good. Alright, update stock. The golden mile. Right, stock manager. Stock manager. Okay, so what do we have here? So we're gonna have a bunch of stocks, and for each stock we want to update the stocks, and we're updating a range. So we want to update a bunch of stuff. Okay, so I think then let's go ahead and when we in our iStock manager, let's go ahead and actually just say update stock range, and we'll pass in a list of stock, and let's call this stock list. Okay, let's pass. Let's copy what we have in this parameter, so we can go in here and easily just replace what we have here like this, and import the using statement. Now we can go ahead and just grab this, go into stock manager, put this here, and pass the stock list here, and we're going to return this. Again, we can check if this has been saved correctly here. I'm not going to bother. Update stock range and stocks. Yeah, stocks doesn't sound good, does it? Like, just doesn't roll off your tongue. Let's go ahead and rename this to stock list. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, looking good. Looking good. Let's go ahead and close this. And the next thing, we have user admin. And here we have the user manager, but this is pretty much already its own sort of repository. You can see how many methods Microsoft has gone ahead and implemented for you. Essentially what we did with these interfaces here. So thank you, Microsoft. I'm going to think about how to extract this maybe in another episode, or do we really want to? If we want to separate our application to its fullest, let's say that, or we might want to keep this in our UI layer because that's where this resides. But yeah, let's close that. Let's make sure our application builds. Pretty sure there's going to be a couple of errors. more than a couple. So let's go into Stock Manager first and let's see what's wrong. Implement interface. Let's compare this to what we have here. Remove this hash. Update stock range. Okay, so I didn't update the name. Cool. Remove that. Next thing. Okay, wherever we're passing these contexts. So these can now be injected through dependency injection. So let me hide this away. I'm going to remove this here. And I am going to type in from services, grab the class name, and call it get products. I'm going to move this to a new line. I'm going to say get products do. Alright, and this is all that will need to be done for each one of these. So let's go ahead, copy this. We'll drop this to a new line. Get product here. Let's drop this to a new line. And replace this. Let's drop this to a new line. Comma new line. Let's copy whatever this is. Put it here. Class name. Create product. Let's remove the S here actually. I've just noticed that it doesn't match the class name. Okay, let's put this to a new line. And where we have create product, let's put it here. And we're gonna do same thing here. So from services, copy, put it here. And I'm just gonna put it here again because I'm tired of copy pasting it. Like that. Okay, so here where we were, put this to a new line, delete product, give this a new name called delete product. Put this here. And now put this to a new line. This is going to be update product. Rename this to update product. And replace the name here. And this error is really going to be the main one because we are going to be using dependency injection. I'm not going to make sure the project works now because we're going to get an error regarding our services not being injected, but I'm going to sort it in the next episode. What is these two spaces? Ooh, okay. All right. Let's go ahead see what else we have. A couple more orders controller. Let's see what we got here. And here where we are doing async because this is going to be returning an int. Let's do this var success equals this, and if success return okay. This will have to be more than 0, else return bad request. And what do we have here? Oh, this is just we're just returning a task, aren't we? Advanced order. I'm not passing an int here. I already typed that out. You know what? I'm gonna be a good citizen and convert this to an int. So where's Control F? Order. What? Advanced order. This should be at the bottom. So how come? I have these things enabled. Okay, that's why I can search. Okay. Advanced order. Task of int. Cool. So advanced order now returns task of integer, and so we can grab it here. And now our update order, this do async, this service, let's go into here and let's make it return a task of int as well. Okay, so now this error goes away, and what I have written here is not for nothing. Alright, let's close everything and let's keep going. So stock controller is going to be the next thing to refactor. So same thing that I want to do from services, grab the class name, and let's do get stock. This is going to be get stock. I'm just gonna do this from services and each method, what's it called? In each method parameter, and I'm gonna rename it since I don't want to copy paste a couple. I don't want to keep copy pasting it. I just want to copy it, paste it a bunch of times, and be done with it. All right. So create stock, delete stock, update stock, rename them. Update stock. Okay. Drop these to a new line. Create stock. Delete stock. No. Okay. Delete stock. Bop. And update stock. Bop. Nice. All right. Looking good. Let's close that. Error list. Not too many left. All right. So where we have this, we have get order cart. We are using it there. We can inject that as well. And this will let us get rid of our application DB context. Get rid of it here. Let's get rid of this context here. Let's add another service here. So I'm going to paste this and put a comma. Create order. Put it here. Create order as a service. We're not creating a new instance here anymore. Okay. Just like that. Nice. Let's see what else we got. Okay. On get, this is, yeah, from services. Want to get the products. Name it get products. Name it and get rid of this constructor. And clean up the namespaces as well. Nice. Close all of that. Error list. Oh, I keep pinning it and then unpinning it. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. So from services, get order. Put this here. Get rid of the application DB context. And there we go. Okay. And now I close it. Okay. I'll just build it again. And I don't get my error list. So I have lost my error list. And there it is back. Okay. If you do lose your error list, you can press Ctrl Q or go to this search window and just say error list, and then it will pop up. Ctrl Shift M. I guess that's what you can press, but it'll pop you back here. So let's pin this down here on get, wherever this action is. Let's go ahead and add from services. Grab the class name. Put it here. Get product. Sign it here. Nice. Let's build it again for good measure. Okay, so everything builds okay. Now your application is broken at this point. What you can do is go watch my clean dependency injection video, and basically that way you will know how to inject all of these services, and everything will be fine and dandy. If you haven't watched that video, I suggest you do. Otherwise, you can wait for the next episode where we will actually go ahead and implement the clean and dependency injection. But what I actually want to do is sever my connection to the database here in the project. So let's go ahead and edit CS Proj. And instead of this one, I will just change this to domain. And I'll grab this dependency. So I'm just going to be referencing the domain application. What is it? complaining about? Do I have to rebuild it? Okay, so we did lose a lot of data annotations, etc. And yeah, we will need to fix that actually as well. Yeah, all of these are data annotations. So we cannot get rid of that just yet. Let's keep the reference. Or, you know what? Never. I take that back. I do want to change it. So domain. All right, and domain. Okay, and now let's go ahead and grab this namespace. So let's go into manage NuGet packages. Let's browse for this namespace. And here it is. And let's go ahead and just install it. Install the latest one, 4.6.0. And that should bring the namespace back and our project should build. But now we don't have this namespace. So let's go ahead, press Ctrl H on this current project. And let's remove this. So this is going to remove shop.database, basically this string from the current project. Be careful what you're removing here. You can mess the whole project up. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove that. Let's see if this builds. A few more. So iService collection. This is again something that doesn't exist here. Let's go ahead and grab this for now. Or actually, do we identity? Microsoft ASP.NET Core identity. This is something again that we will just need to move, but for now, so it builds, we're just going to do the same thing. So we actually know what we're going to have to remove. So these are all other what's called dependencies that we have snuck into our application and that actually need removing. Manage NuGet solution. Okay, I clicked on the wrong thing. So on shop application, manage NuGet packages. Let's see this package. Let's install it here. Accept all of this stuff. Okay, thank you. And now we should see it back. Identity user. Where does identity user come from? What we can do is we can check the internet. From the ASP.NET Core Identity Entity Framework core. So I think this is something actually, this whole thing should belong in the database layer actually. So let's go ahead, let's not be lazy about this, and let's create an iUser manager. And there's going to be one task: create user, string username, and you can pass password to it or whatnot. And we are creating a manager. So let's go ahead, string password, create manager user. Okay, do we return anything from here? No, we're just returning true. So let's go ahead, change this to int. I was gonna end this application a little bit. I was gonna end this tutorial a little bit too early, but let's create a folder and call it interfaces, and we'll stick this in here. Database dot interfaces. Sorry, this will need to be in the shop.domain. Yep, and shop.domain, because this will need to be used by our application, but the implementation is going to be living in our database. Okay, so let me remove the interface from here. I moved the interface to our domain layer where it will be accessed by our application. Pardon me, this is a long tutorial. I am a little bit tired, so let's create a user manager.cs. And I've closed everything. Okay, create user, where the problem lies. Let's grab the user manager. We're gonna inherit from I user manager like that. And I'm gonna grab this constructor here. I'm gonna cut it, or do I want to cut it? I don't want to cut it, I want to copy it. I'm gonna paste it here, and I am gonna bring in all of these imports. So I have the user manager, and constructor is going to be user manager. Let's implement the tasks. Cool. Task int. Boo, 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 boo. We are gonna have 2 of them, so let's go ahead and just, again, I'll just return true here. I will grab all of this stuff that was in there. I'm gonna paste it in here where it belongs. Let's go ahead and make this async. Task of int. I'm gonna remove this. Request. Let's go ahead and change this to username. Claim. We can import the claim. And password. Let's go ahead and pass the password here. Okay, user manager. Yeah, okay, so we will need to change the type here. So this is just a task. And now all we have to do is grab the iUser manager here. User manager. And let's create the global field. Oh, work with me. Work with me, Visual Studio. What are you doing? Okay, there we go. User manager. Create manager user. Request. Username. I guess we can pass the password here as well. Let's go password. Give this a small n. I don't know why it's a big N here. Okay, and let's await on this and request the password. Let's pass this password here. Okay. So now that that's done, we can go ahead into here and actually remove into our shop application CS project, remove the reference to ASP.NET Core identity. Okay, let's build this, and I think the only problem we should have is the dependency injection, the service collection, and this needs a reference to Microsoft Extensions dependency injection. Okay, and we'll solve this in the next episode, but just so you know how you handle these missing package errors. This is what you do. Basically, you go into the NuGet package manager, you type in whichever package you're missing, and we're not on .NET Core 3, but rather we are, let's go ahead into our CS project. We are on .NET Standard 2, so I guess it doesn't really matter at this point, but when we go here into the shop UI, let's check here, we're on .NET Core 2.1, so we want to grab the 2.1 package. So 2.1.0, install that, accept. Okay, and now the errors should go away. Okay. Alright, so this was a long-winded episode. Hopefully nobody was too bored. Thanks for watching. This will be it for this episode. Hopefully you weren't too bored. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe. If you have any questions, or if you're running into any problems, leave a comment. I'd like to help, because if you're struggling too much, or if you have completely broken your project, this is something that can happen if you're new to refactoring. Definitely leave a comment. I'll help you to restore it. Okay. But nevertheless, don't forget to like, share, and see you in my other episodes. Have a good day.